The last human battleship exploded in a brilliant flash of orange and white light. Captain Park Min-ho watched from the bridge of his small research vessel as pieces of the mighty warship scattered across the dark space around. Gripped the control panel so hard his knuckles turned white. "That was the Earth's Pride," whispered Dr. Kim Sora from beside him. "Admiral Chen's flagship." Min-ho nodded slowly. The Earth's Pride had been humanity's most powerful ship. Now it was nothing but glowing debris floating in the void. Around Earth, the alien fleet hung like a swarm of angry insects. Their ships were massive, dark things that seemed to eat the light from the stars. "All human orbital stations destroyed," came the cold voice over the radio. It was Admiral Kethfer, the leader of the Zephorian forces. His words reached every corner of the solar system. "Your resistance is over. Your species will be processed." Min-ho's research ship New Dawn drifted silently behind a large asteroid. Far from Earth, the ship was small and old, designed for scientific missions, not war. Its hull was scratched and dented from 3 years of running and hiding. But it was still flying, and that made it one of the last free human vessels in the galaxy. "How many others made it out?" asked Engineer Choi Hana from her station near the back of the bridge. "I count 15 ships on the emergency channel," replied Lieutenant Oheen. "Maybe 16. All civilian vessels. Mining ships, cargo haulers. Research stations like us." Min-ho felt sick. 3 years ago, humanity had controlled dozens of worlds and thousands of ships. Their space navy had been the pride of human civilization. Now less than 20 small vessels remained free, hiding in the cold darkness between the planets. On Earth's surface, the Zephyrian landing craft descended like metal rain. Each ship was the size of a city block, carrying thousands of alien soldiers. The creatures inside stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and skin like black leather. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness, and their weapons could melt through steel. "The processing camps are being set up," reported Dr. Kim Sora, monitoring the alien communications. She had learned their language during the war, hoping to find weaknesses. "They're gathering all the survivors." Min-ho closed his eyes. He had family on Earth. His sister, his parents, his young nephew who loved to hear stories about space travel. Were they already in the camps? Were they still alive? "Sir," said Lieutenant Oheen quietly, "the aliens are broadcasting again." The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Kethfer on the bridge of his command ship. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, his 4 arms crossed behind his back. His red eyes seemed to stare directly at them through the camera. "Humans of the scattered vessels," Kethfer began, his voice deep and harsh. "Your homeworld is ours. Your colonies have been destroyed. Your fleets are space dust. I offer you one chance to surrender. Present yourselves to the nearest Zephyrian patrol, and your deaths will be quick." The transmission ended. The bridge of the New Dawn fell silent, except for the quiet hum of life support systems. "What do we do now?" whispered Engineer Choi Hana, MINHO. Looked at his small crew. Dr. Kim Sora was brilliant, but had never held a weapon. Lieutenant Ohayan was young and eager, but had only finished basic training when the war started. Engineer Choi Hana could fix anything, but had never been in a real fight. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. "We survive," Min-ho said finally. "We stay hidden. We stay alive." "But for how long?" asked Dr. Kim Sora. "We have supplies for maybe 6 months. The aliens control everything now." Min-ho stared at the image of Earth on the screen. The planet looked the same as always. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But he knew that millions of humans were now prisoners on their own world. The Zephyrians had one completely. "I don't know," he admitted. "But we're not giving up. Not yet." Over the next few hours, the small human fleet regrouped in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. 17 ships in total, carrying fewer than 3,000 people. They were all that remained of humanity's presence in space. The ships were a mixed group. The mining vessel Iron Will was the largest, its cargo holds now packed with refugees. The research station Deep Space 7 had been converted into a mobile base. Several small cargo ships carried supplies and equipment salvaged from destroyed human outposts. "We need to stay scattered," Minho told the other captains during their secret meeting. "Small groups, always moving. The aliens think we're all dead. Or captured. Let's keep it that way." As the meeting ended, Minho returned to his ship and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of worlds. Their fleets were massive and powerful. Their technology was advanced beyond human understanding, but they had made one mistake. They thought humanity was finished. They thought the war was over? They were wrong. 6 months had passed since Earth fell to the aliens. Captain Park Min-ho guided his ship New Dawn through the asteroid field, moving as quietly as a whisper. The vessel's engines ran cold, producing almost no heat that alien sensors could detect. Every surface was covered in a special coating that made the ship look like just another piece of space rock. "Contact ahead," whispered Lieutenant Oheen from his station. The Zephyrian patrol ship, distance 2 kilometers. The bridge crew held their breath. Dr. Kim Sora turned off her computer screen to eliminate even that small amount of light. Engineer Choi Hanna powered down all non-essential systems. The New Dawn drifted silently among the asteroids, looking like nothing more than another chunk of rock and ice. The alien patrol ship was huge compared to their small research vessel. Its dark hull gleamed with weapon ports and sensor arrays. Red lights blinked along its sides as it swept the area with powerful scanners. The Zephyrians were still looking for human survivors, but not very hard. They believed they had one completely. "Passing by Ohane," reported in the quietest voice possible. "They're not slowing down." Minho watched the alien ship move away through the asteroid field. The patrol was routine, lazy even. 6 months ago, Zephyrian ships had hunted human vessels with fierce determination. Now they barely seemed to care about the empty space between planets. "They think we're all dead," said Dr. Kim Sora, once the alien ship was gone. Their patrol patterns have become predictable. This was true. Surviving humans had learned to read alien behavior. The Zephyrians had grown comfortable in their victory, and no longer expected to find human ships hiding in the darkness. This was exactly what the survivors had hoped for. The New Dawn continued its journey to the secret meeting point. Hidden deep in the asteroid belt was a large rock called Haven 1. From the outside, it looked like any other asteroid. But inside, human engineers had been working for months to create something special. "Docking in 30 seconds, announced Engineer Choi Hanna as they approached what looked like a crack in the asteroid's surface. The crack was actually a hidden entrance, covered by a camouflage screen that made it invisible to alien sensors. The ship slipped inside the asteroid, and immediately the darkness was replaced by warm lights and the sound of human voices. The inside of Haven 1 had been completely hollowed out and turned into a base. Workshops lined the walls, filled with salvaged equipment and jury-rigged machines. People moved between workstations, busy with dozens of different projects. "Welcome back, Captain," said Commander Lee Jimin, the unofficial leader of the human survivors. He was a former military officer who had been commanding a supply depot when the war ended. He coordinated the scattered human fleet from this hidden base. "What's the status?" asked Minho as they walked through the busy corridors. "Better than expected," Jimin replied. "We now have 18 ships in our fleet. The cargo vessel Lucky Star found us last week. They've been hiding in the outer system since the fall of Earth." They entered the main command center where dozens of people worked at computer stations. The room buzzed with quiet activity. On the main screen, a map showed the positions of all known human vessels, scattered throughout the solar system like tiny dots of light in the darkness. "We've been monitoring alien communications," reported Dr. Kim Sora, joining them at the central table. "The Zephyrians are becoming careless. They've reduced their patrol schedules by half. Most of their fleet has moved on to other star systems." This was excellent news. The aliens were so confident in their victory that they were leaving only a small garrison to guard the solar system. It was exactly what the humans had hoped would happen. "What about Earth?" asked Minho. Commander Jimin's expression grew darker. "The processing camps are still active. We estimate maybe 500 million humans are still alive on the surface. The aliens are using them as forced labor to build their new installations. Thought of his family in those camps made Minho's stomach turn, but he pushed the feeling aside. Getting angry would not help anyone right now. Show him the workshop, suggested Engineer Choi Hana. They walked to a section of the asteroid that had been turned into a massive workspace. Inside, teams of human engineers worked on projects that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. They were taking apart alien technology, studying how it worked, and finding ways to improve it. We salvaged this from a destroyed Zephyrion. Fighter, explained one of the engineers, pointing to a strange device on the workbench. It's their shield generator. Not very efficient, but very powerful. And this, said another engineer, holding up a small crystal, is their computer core. We've learned to reprogram it using human software. Dr. Kim Sora led them to her own workspace, where she had been studying alien weapons and sensors. There. Technology is advanced, but it's designed for fighting large fleets in open space. They're not prepared for small hidden groups like us. What do you mean? Asked Minho. Their scanners look for big energy signatures, battleships, space stations, cities. They're almost blind to small, cold objects hiding among asteroids. We've become invisible to them. Commander Jimin smiled. The aliens think humanity is finished. They've stopped looking for us. That makes us ghosts in the dark, free to move and plan without being detected. As Minho toured the hidden base, he began to understand what the survivors had accomplished. They had not just survived the destruction of human civilization, they had adapted, learned, and grown stronger. The Zephyrians had won the war, but they had no idea that humanity was still fighting. 2 years had passed since the fall of Earth, the asteroid that humans called. Haven 1 no longer looked like a simple rock floating in space. Inside, it had become a hidden city. Captain Park Minho walked through corridors that buzzed with activity. Day and night, the sound of hammering, welding, and machinery filled the air. Production is ahead of schedule, reported Engineer Choi Hana as they entered the main workshop. We've completed 37 kinetic platforms so far. The workshop was enormous, carved from solid rock and lined with metal panels. Human workers moved between massive machines that had been built from salvaged alien technology. At the center of the room stood something that looked like a giant cannon, but it was designed to launch rocks, not shells. Show me how it works, said Mytho. Dr. Kim Sora approached the device, her hands moving over the control panel. We call it a mass driver. Uses magnetic fields to accelerate objects to incredible speeds. A 10-ton asteroid can be launched at 40 kilometers per second. Lieutenant Ohayan pulled up calculations on his tablet. At that speed, the impact energy equals a nuclear weapon. But there's no radiation, no fallout. Just pure kinetic force. Stared at the weapon. It was beautiful in its simplicity. The aliens had advanced energy weapons and powerful shields, but they had never thought to use simple physics as a weapon. A chunk of rock moving fast enough could destroy any target. How many platforms are operational? He asked. 47. Are in position around the solar system, replied Commander Lee Jimin, joining the group. Each one is hidden inside an asteroid, completely invisible to alien sensors. They're all connected by a secure communication network. The humans had been busy during their 2 years of hiding. They had not just survived, they had planned, prepared, and built. Every asteroid in the belt had been surveyed. The largest ones had been hollowed out and turned into weapon platforms. Smaller rocks had been fitted with engines and guidance systems, turning them into guided missiles. What about intelligence? Asked Minna. Dr. Kim Sora led them to another section of the base, where dozens of people sat at computer stations wearing headphones. They were listening to alien communications, learning enemy patrol routes, and mapping Zephyrian installations. We know everything about their operations, she explained. The aliens have grown very lazy. They use the same patrol schedules every week. Their commanders send detailed reports about troop movements and supply deliveries. One of the intelligence officers looked up from his station. Sir, we've intercepted communications from 17 different star systems. The Zephyrian Empire is spread thin. They're having trouble controlling all their conquered territories. This was exactly what the humans had hoped to hear. The aliens were so confident in their victory that they had moved most of their forces. Two other conflicts. The solar system was now guarded by only a small garrison. "Show him the target list," suggested Commander Jimin. A large screen displayed a map of Earth's orbital space. Red dots marked every Zephyrian installation, weapons, platforms, command stations, supply depots, and communication relays. There were dozens of targets, all perfectly mapped and cataloged. "We've been watching them for 2 years," explained Lieutenant O'Hyun. "We know the location of every alien facility, the number of ships at each base, and the daily routines of their crews." Engineer Choi Hanna brought up another display showing the positions of the hidden human weapons. "Every target has been assigned to a specific kinetic platform. We can destroy their entire orbital network simultaneously." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The aliens expected attacks to come from ships armed with energy weapons. They had never imagined that their enemies would turn the asteroid belt itself into a weapon. When the time came, 47 chunks of rock would strike 47 targets. At exactly the same moment. "What about the surface installations?" asked Minho. "That's where it gets interesting," said Dr. Kim Sora with a small smile. "We've been seeding the asteroid belt with smaller projectiles, thousands of them, each one guided and targeted. We can rain destruction on any point on Earth's surface." The implications were staggering. The Zephyrians had built their occupation. Force around orbital superiority. They controlled space, so they controlled the planet below. But if their orbital network was destroyed, their ground forces would be trapped and helpless. "How long until we're ready?" asked Minho. Commander Jimin checked his schedule. "Final preparations will be complete in 3 weeks. All platforms will be loaded and targeted. The communication network will be tested and secured." "What about our fleet?" 18 ships, all upgraded with salvaged alien technology. We've improved their weapons, shields, and engines. They're small, but they're fast and hard to detect." As Minho toured the hidden base, he marveled at what humanity had accomplished. 2 years ago, they had been defeated survivors hiding in the darkness. Now they commanded a secret weapon that could strike anywhere in the solar system. The aliens thought the war was over. They celebrated their victory while human slaves worked in processing camps on Earth. The Zephyrian Empire controlled hundreds of worlds and commanded fleets of massive warships. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to learn, and to prepare. The survivors had turned their apparent defeat into the ultimate strategic advantage. Soon, aliens would learn that humanity was not extinct. They would discover that the war was far from over. The hammer was about to fall, and when it did, the galaxy would remember why humans were never to be underestimated. The long preparation was almost complete. The clock on Haven 1's command center showed 5:59 Greenwich Mean Time. Commander Lee Jimin stood before the main display, watching as 47 red dots appeared across the solar system. Each dot represented a kinetic platform hidden inside. An asteroid and loaded with a 10-ton projectile. "All platforms report ready," announced Lieutenant O'Han from his station. "Targeting solutions confirmed. Communication links are secure." Dr. Kim Sora sat at the weapons control console, her fingers hovering over the firing sequence. 2 years of preparation had led to this moment. Around the command center, dozens of human operators watched their screens with intense focus. 30 seconds, called out Engineer Choi Hanna, monitoring the countdown. On Earth, Admiral Cuthbert was enjoying his morning meal aboard his command ship. The alien felt satisfied as he looked out at the orbital installations surrounding humanity's former homeworld. 47 platforms, weapons arrays, and communication stations formed a perfect defensive network. The humans were gone, their planet was secure, and the war was over. 15 seconds, announced Choi Hanna. Captain Park Min-ho gripped the arms of his chair aboard the New Dawn. His small research vessel was hidden among the asteroids, ready to join the attack once the kinetic strikes hit their targets. Around him, his crew prepared for the battle of their lives. 10 seconds, called Choi Hanna, 5.4.3.1. Execute. Dr. Kim Sora pressed the firing button across the solar system. 47 chunks of rock and metal suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds. The mass drivers hurled their projectiles with magnetic forces so powerful they could be seen as brief flashes of light. Each 10-ton asteroid moved at 40 kilometers per second. Carrying the kinetic energy of a nuclear weapon, Admiral Kethfer was reaching for his drink when the first impact lit up the view screen. The orbital weapons platform directly ahead of his ship simply vanished in a brilliant flash of white light. Debris scattered in all directions as the massive structure was completely destroyed. "What was that?" he demanded, but before anyone could answer, more explosions erupted around Earth. Every few seconds, another installation disappeared in a burst of light and metal fragments. "All orbital platforms are under attack," shouted his tactical officer. "We're detecting massive kinetic impacts from everywhere." The bridge of Kethfer's command ship shuddered as debris from the destroyed stations peppered the hull. Warning alarms blared as the ship's shields deflected chunks of twisted metal flying through space. "Where are the attacks coming from?" Kethfer roared. "Unknown, Admiral. The projectiles are too fast to track. They're hitting us from all directions." On Haven 1, the humans watched their tactical display with grim satisfaction. Every red dot that represented a Zephyrian installation blinked out as the kinetic strikes found their targets. The alien orbital network was being systematically destroyed. "All primary targets eliminated," reported Lieutenant O'Heen, moving to secondary targets. The second wave of attacks began immediately. Smaller projectiles, each weighing only a few tons, rained down. On Earth's surface, they struck alien ground installations with pinpoint accuracy, destroying command centers, supply depots, and communication arrays. "Phase 2 is go," announced Dr. Kim Sora. "Surface bombardment proceeding as planned," Captain Park Minho's voice crackled over the communication system as the hidden human fleet emerged from the asteroid belt. "All ships, this is New Dawn. Operation Damocles is active. Engage at will." The New Dawn and 17 other human vessels burst from their hiding places, their engines blazing as they accelerated toward Earth. The ships were small compared to the massive Zephyrian vessels, but they were fast and armed with weapons built from captured alien technology. "Human ships detected," screamed Kethfer's sensor officer. "Multiple contacts, closing fast." The Admiral stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans were supposed to be extinct. Their fleets had been destroyed, their colonies captured, their species defeated. How were they attacking with such coordination and power? "All units engage the human vessels," he ordered. But the Zephyrian response was chaotic and confused. Half their orbital weapons were gone, their communication network was down, and debris from the destroyed platforms was interfering with their sensors. The aliens had been caught completely off guard. Engineer Choi Hanna coordinated the surface bombardment from Haven 1. Garrison headquarters destroyed. Main spaceport eliminated. Communications center down. On Earth's surface, Zephyrian ground commander Veltar watched in horror as his carefully built installations disappeared under precise kinetic strikes. The humans were using the very sky as a weapon, dropping destruction from orbit with deadly accuracy. "Sir, we're losing all our surface facilities," reported his aide. "The bombardment is targeting every major installation." "How is this possible?" Veltar demanded. "The humans have no ships, no weapons, no orbital capability." But even as he spoke, another kinetic strike destroyed his communications center. The building simply vanished in a flash of light and a cloud of dust. Lieutenant O'Heen monitored the battle from his station. Enemy orbital capacity reduced to 0. Surface installations down by 80%. Our fleet is engaging the remaining alien ships. The New Dawn swept past a damaged Zephyrian cruiser, its weapons tearing through the alien vessel's weakened shields. All around Earth, human ships danced between the debris of destroyed installations, hunting down the scattered enemy fleet. "This is Captain Park Minho of the Free Human Fleet," came the broadcast over all frequencies. "Attention, Zephyrian forces. You declared us extinct. You were wrong. We're not dead. We're not defeated. We're just getting started. Admiral Kethfer's command ship shook as human weapons struck its hull. The alien admiral finally understood the terrible truth. The humans had never been extinct. They had been preparing. 1 week had passed since the hammer fell. Admiral Kethfer stood in chains aboard the human command vessel Resilience, which had once been the small research station New Dawn. The alien's 4 arms were bound behind his back, and his red eyes stared at the deck in defeat. The ship's bridge had been expanded and upgraded with captured Zephyrian technology. Through the main view screen, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. For the first time in 3 years, no alien ships orbited humanity's homeworld. The sky belonged to humans again. "You called us extinct," said Commander Lee Jimin, now wearing the uniform of Admiral of the Reformed Human Defense Fleet. "You've celebrated our destruction. You were wrong." Kethfer looked up at his human captors. Captain Park Min-ho stood nearby, his face showing no emotion. Dr. Kim Sora worked at a computer station, monitoring reports from across the galaxy. Engineer Choi Hanna operated the communications system, coordinating with human forces throughout the solar system.
"Oh,"
Kethfer asked, his voice barely a whisper. "We destroyed your fleets. We conquered your worlds. Killed billions of your people." "You destroyed our military," replied Dr. Kim Sora, not looking up from her screen. "You occupied our planets. You killed our soldiers, but you made one crucial mistake." "What mistake?" Lieutenant O'Hayon stepped forward, holding a tablet that displayed tactical information. "You assumed we thought like you. You believed we would fight like you. You expected us to rebuild fleets and attack your ships directly. Instead," added Engineer Choi Hanna, "we turned physics into our weapon. We made the asteroid belt into our army, used patience and planning instead of ships and guns." Admiral Jimin walked to the main display, which showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Zephyrian-controlled systems, but many of them were blinking or fading. "While you celebrated your victory, we spent 2 years preparing."
Yes.
Every asteroid became a weapon. Every piece of space debris became a missile. "The kinetic platforms are still active," reported Dr. Kim Sora. 17 Zephyrian systems are currently under bombardment. Your orbital networks are being destroyed across the galaxy. Kethfer's eyes widened as he understood the scope of the human attack. "You're attacking our entire empire?" "We're liberating the galaxy," corrected Captain Minho. "Every species you enslaved is rising up. Every world you conquered is fighting back. Your invincible empire is crumbling." The communications system crackled with reports from across space. Lieutenant O'Hayon read the latest updates. "The Altair system has been liberated. The vegan colonies have declared independence. The Centauri worlds are in full rebellion. Your own commanders are surrendering," added Engineer Choi Hanna. "Half your fleet has deserted or joined the liberation forces." Dr. Kim Sora finally looked up from her computer. "We intercepted a message from your homeworld. Your government is asking for peace talks." Kethfer slumped in his chains. The mighty Zephyrian hegemony, which had ruled hundreds of worlds for centuries, was collapsing in a matter of days. All because they had underestimated one small species from a tiny blue planet. "How long?" he asked quietly. "How long what?" replied Admiral Jimin. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the moment you declared us extinct," said Captain Minho. "We knew you would grow careless. We knew you would spread your forces thin. We knew you would stop looking for us." "You turned our defeat into an advantage," admitted Kethfer. "We turned your arrogance into your weakness," corrected Dr. Kim Sora. "You assumed the war was over. You assumed we were finished. You assumed wrong." The main screen changed to show Earth's surface. In the processing camps where humans had been imprisoned, the gates were open. Millions of people walked free under the open sky. Children played in the sunshine while their parents wept with joy. "The liberation of Earth is complete," reported Lieutenant O'Hyun. "All processing camps have been shut down. Zephyrian ground forces have surrendered." "What happens now?" asked Kethfer. Admiral Jimin considered the question. "Now we make sure this never happens again. Every species you enslaved will be free. Every world you conquered will choose its own government. Your empire of oppression is over. And us. What happens to the Zephyrians? You'll return to your homeworld, said Captain Minho. You'll face justice from your own people and from the species you wronged, but you'll live. We're not like you. Don't commit genocide. Engineer Choi Hanna received another communication. Admiral, we're getting reports from the outer colonies. The human settlements on Mars, Europa, and Titan are secure. Alien garrison forces have surrendered. What about the other species? Asked Dr. Kim Sora. The Regulians have retaken their homeworld. The Procyon Republic has been restored.
Oh.
The Tau Ceti colonies are free.
How?
Lieutenant O'Hyan smiled as he read the reports. Everywhere the Zephyrians ruled, people are celebrating liberation. Admiral Jimin looked at the defeated alien commander. Your empire lasted 300 years. You conquered dozens of species and hundreds of worlds, but you made one fatal error. What error? You attacked humanity. You declared us extinct. You celebrated our destruction. Jimin's voice was calm but firm. Should have made sure we were actually dead. The communication system buzzed with another message. Dr. Kim Sora read it aloud. This is from the Zephyrian. Homeworld. They're requesting immediate ceasefire and formal surrender negotiations. Kethver closed his eyes. The species he had called a pest had destroyed his empire in 7 days. They had struck from the darkness of space itself, using weapons his people had never imagined. We underestimated you, he said finally. Yes, agreed Admiral Jimin. You did. And now the galaxy will remember what happens when you push humanity too far. The war was over. Now the reckoning had begun.